Hi, everybody. I'm here with Don Farr, and we are talking recruiter enablement. So, Don, thanks for joining me, and give us a quick introduction to you.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. Thanks for having me. So I just joined recently TalentWorks, a talent solutions company based in the UK. It was founded 14 years ago. Prior, I worked at a couple of startups and then spent 10 years building Red Hat. We grew from 8,000 to 25,000 people, so my team was quite busy during that 10-year period, and learned a lot. So really happy to share some of my learnings with people.
Okay, if I say recruiter enablement to you, what springs to mind? What are the different things involved in that? What is it?
Yeah, I think it's the what and how of how a recruiter does their job. When I say what, it's all the elements to actually delivering, from knowing the tool set to actually executing the right activities on a daily basis. And the how is really um, following the right processes, the way you interact with your team members and collaborate, and also some of the softer skills like consulting and influencing that recruiters need to be successful. And I've always felt you need a combination of these two things to really be that ultimate recruiter.
I mean, that's really succinct, and I agree with everything you just said, and I couldn't agree more with the way you've just phrased that. So, let's talk about maybe things that you've put in place, or you've seen put in place which have gone well, and maybe anything that you've seen that's been an open goal, something that's been missing, or things that you've seen that have not gone very well in this area.
Yeah, so I'm gonna share a couple of examples, probably one from Red Hat, which is kind of a very kind of scaling corporate example, and then one around talent work. So I think on the Red Hat side, my team scaled from about 40 or 50 to 200 recruiters over a period of time. And the way we handled enablement really needed to change. I think, first of all, we needed to make sure we focused on enablement. And so I had an operations team, and they were really the center of all things enablement. So we had a program that we built out over time. One of the keys, I think, was having a portal that was centralized, all the information that a recruiter needed, from, salary bands to, interview questions, et cetera. And we called that ATTA, which stands for All Things Talent Acquisition. And over time, we really built quite an interface that was very usable for all the recruiters, and we expected them to go there for answers than necessarily go to their managers or others. And by building that behavior, I think we became really, efficient. Obviously, I think another area is making sure people understand the tools and you have the right tool set. I do think one of the things we did at Red Hat was spent about 10% of our budget on innovation. And a lot of the tools that we tried out came from our recruiters. So we really encouraged them to tell us about tools, but then hold them accountable to not only trying the tool out and making sure that it's effective, but also helping their teammates leverage the tool. So if you asked for a tool, not only did you need to figure it out for yourself, but also contribute to others leveraging that same tool, as we used it.
Hmm. So what did they do that? So the recruiter, let's say I'm a recruiter in your team at Red Hat. I want to use this new sourcing tool. I'm given the green light to do it, but I need to help with working out what's the business case for everybody else to use it, and maybe do training with other people around like best ways to use it. Is that the type of thing that you mean?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So one of the things that we ensured was that our recruiters had some responsibility and accountability for innovating the way we did our work, as well as onboarding others, right? So as they got comfortable with onboarding and training, it really reflected in their ability to help others leverage a tool. And one of the things that we definitely made sure of is, what do we think we're going to get out of this tool? Let's put some metrics in place and then continually measure those things. And often we found that over time, tools fell short, and then we made some, very succinct decisions to move away from them and maybe onto, the next tool. So I, that I was always looking at, how are we leveraging all the tools that we have? Are we actually leveraging them? What's the usage look like? What's the impact look like?
Yeah. Okay. Very interesting. I like the name ATTA, All Things Talent Acquisition.
Yep.
Um, and just wanted to ask another question about this. Like yeah, that's the place where they go rather than asking their manager. Yeah, that's a great element of recruiter enablement. It's being more efficient, and self-serve is a part of that. Um, was there any teething troubles with that? There was some kind of a change management process you needed to put in place, or was it easy to get people to adapt to that way of working?
So for us, it was generally easy. I think the trick is that you have to have information in ATA that's always up to date.
Yeah.
And in a big company like Red Hat, we had to rely on other groups to update it. So when you think about salary ranges being updated, let's say every quarter, you're partnering with the total rewards organization, and you've got to count on them actually updating the information in ATA, right? So, the recruiters could be very confident they're using the most up-to-date, salary ranges. So, part of the trick is making sure that you're uh, connected to the other organizations within the HR team that need to contribute to ATA, and make sure that the all the information is up to date. When it is, and the recruiters know they can count on it, we found it actually pretty easy to get them to adopt it and use it. I think that the barrier to the adoption is often I can't trust the information or it's not up to date.
Yes. 100%. It's exactly what I was about to say. And there are certain like enterprise kind of file sharing type systems that some companies try and use for this. And the problem is these are experiences a little bit unappealing. And if something is out of date, you're right. They don't trust it from then on. And it's the same problem that a CRM has. A CRM often has that problem because like people go into it and they go, I don't think that resume is from 2 years ago. There's no way that person's doing that anymore. And that's why recruiters remain addicted to LinkedIn. I believe. So you said you had another example, a TalentWorks example.
Yeah, for sure. So one of the things that was important in Red Hat, but is also important as a vendor, is the ability for recruiters to influence, because so often consulting skills and influencing make the difference, because you get a job description that might be flawed. Maybe it's a unicorn that's unfindable, and you're going to have to spend some time consulting with that hiring manager around what's really important, or do some canvassing of the market and then say, hey, what you're looking for really doesn't exist. And that takes consulting skills, and so you have to really be thoughtful about how are you enabling recruiters to consult, to influence, because it's such an important skill. Um,
Mm,
Sometimes you're able to leverage HR business partners, or others, but when you're a vendor, typically you don't have that opportunity. So we've spent some time at TalentWorks really helping people understand, how to influence, and I think it makes a difference.
yeah, no, I think it does. I also want to ask you about like in terms of enabling recruiters, you have you've had teams of people working for you at a company like Red Hat, big team in there. When you're a service provider as an RPO business,
Sure,
um, typically the recruiters are acting almost as an internal team member for that company that they're attached to.
they are.
Um, and is there any is there any challenges that are different from for enabling them with things like EVP information and like organizational structure information and how to pitch the company and all that type of thing? I mean, I'm guessing you have some kind of a playbook for making sure that all your teams like become chameleons, I guess.
We do, and I think it is really being disciplined about how you onboard a new client. So we have a client success team at TalentWorks. we have a lot of templates. So, a template that we leverage is a RACI, which is really the responsibilities and accountabilities and who's going to be informed, who can make decisions.
Yeah.
And we are very particular in making sure that we fill that out so everybody is very clear on how the process is going to work, who needs to be informed, who can make decisions, et cetera. And then we have other templates around really getting into the process, like what's the exact process that you want to be working through. And we bring our recruiters along the journey of that kind of client onboarding process. So everybody is really on the same page. I think too often shortcuts are made by RPO vendors, and because there's a lot of pressure to do things quickly. And you can do
Mm,
it quick, but you also have to do it thoroughly.
mm,
And I think that
yeah.
the role that client success, at least with us, plays really helps that onboarding process happen and also enables, of course, the recruiters.
Yeah, I can imagine so. I think if the employer can trust that that RPO business is going to be able to easily adapt and has got the right type of process in place so that they can um, quickly be agile, effectively. And if somebody leaves the team, somebody joining the team can be up to speed really quickly, then they're going to stand out and they're going to grow.
For
So,
sure. A lot of recruitment comes down to discipline, and too often when you go into a kickoff meeting on a new rack and you have a set of things you're trying to get out of that meeting and you maybe fall short of it. And, how does the follow-up happen? Do you actually schedule a continuation meeting to ensure that, you have all the information you need? I think when you do, things really get off on the right foot. When you don't, that's when you have challenges. I think, Adam, there's one other area that I would, relate is what I see in recruiters is often they focus on capabilities and experience, and maybe they focus a little bit on fit, cultural values fit. The piece that I see them always forgetting is motives. Why is somebody interested in this role?
yeah,
And what questions are people asking in order to get to somebody's motives and
yeah,
understand that why match, like, Simon Sinek would talk about. So one of the things that we really focus on is sort of teaching recruiters not just to figure out the capabilities and experience piece and maybe the fit piece, but also the motive piece so that you have a complete match. Um, and
yeah,
some of the questions that I ask my recruiters to ask are things like, as simple as what are the characteristics of the ideal organization that you're looking for? And then really, really dive into that with the candidate. So they're framing up what they're looking for and then being honest about what they just described versus the organization that you're trying to get them to consider.
yeah. I think that's really important. There's too many times when we take a candidate through the process, and then actually we've missed a really important question about why it would be relevant for them. Yeah, recruiters are often too busy focused on closing the deal and closing the deal, but actually you're going to get a lot of last minute withdrawals from candidates if you haven't made sure that that match is uh, is equitable.
For sure. And I was responsible for a close rate at Red Hat, and that's very important to us as a talent vendor. Um, and also responsible for retention and attrition, right? At Red Hat. So, and the thing is, people often leave organizations because of a motive mismatch, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
um, and so it's really important. And we had over 90% close rates at Red Hat on thousands and thousands of hires that we made, right? So, and a big part of that, I think, and probably the secret sauce was matching that motive and that why to what Red Hat was all about. Um,
I'd like to add something else in, which is kind of um, relevant to the same topic. It's a parallel issue, and that is the companies that create beautiful employer brands, which don't really reflect what it's like to work there because it's not that great. And they've got this amazing masterpiece of like attraction devices, but actually it's not that much fun. It's not as much fun as they say it is, or the mission's not as, altruistic as they say it is, or you got to work a damn sight harder than they kind of make out. I think that's another one which is a bit of a problem, is the institutional overselling of the employment experience.
Yeah, I mean, the word that so often is used is authenticity. And I think that was a word that we leveraged continually at Red Hat. We are certain things, we're not other things. Red Hat was not a company that paid as much as some of the big time tech companies on the West Coast. So, if that's what you were looking for, you weren't going to necessarily find it at Red Hat. Um, so, I think you're absolutely right. Authenticity is so important. I've seen it work against organizations, and that's when you see people complaining online about, I went into a company and I thought it was this, but it was actually something different.
Yeah,
You see that so often. And I think those are big red flags for people. So I think, being authentic, no matter who you are, and some of the challenges, and because then you have people that understand it and are better prepared walking in the door, for what they're going to experience.
yeah, absolutely. Don, we've covered quite a lot of different topics here, but it's been really fascinating listening to you and learning from you. Thank you for your time, and hopefully see you again soon.
Thanks, Adam. I really appreciate the opportunity.